as we are seeing more people requesting testing, we are having a supply issue.
Delays in testing results. We'll hear further from Dr. Bob Lutz on the testing backlog in Spokane County. Plus, we are hearing from two bystanders who helped get victims from a North Idaho helicopter crash to safety.
We kicked off the week with temperatures in the 70s. It's going to be warming up, but still not tracking any 90s for Spokane. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I'm Whitney Ward.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Let's get straight to our breaking news tonight. Big news about the world's largest 3-on-3 tournament. Hoopfest announced on its website today the tournament will not take place as previously planned because of the pandemic. KREM 2 Sports Director Brenna Green joins us live downtown with more on the announcement and what it means. Brenna?
Yeah, Mark, I'm standing where center court normally is for Hoopfest. This is going to remain a parking lot until at least June of 2021 because Hoopfest not getting played on the streets of Spokane this year. Now, the event will take place virtually, but it's not going to be the same format whatsoever. Obviously, you can't play teams virtually 3-on-3. It's going to be a series of competitions, drills, and challenges that go on during what would have been the weekend of Hoopfest from August 20th to the 23rd. I asked Matt Santangelo about if he was nervous about where his organization is heading into 2021 financially. He told me, of course he is, but he's really hoping for the community to step up. In terms of why they decided to cancel this event right now, it became obvious to the event's organizers that Spokane will either not be in phase 3 at the end of August or will just be getting into phase 3, and so it did not feel responsible for them to hold this event at the current time. Santangelo says he has a lot of nightmares about putting Hoopfest on, but this is one he couldn't have dreamed of.
Up until this year, my biggest nightmare was that we would wake up Saturday morning of Hoopfest and I would have forgotten to order the basketballs. Like, it's kind of like you wake up like, oh, why? How we don't have basketballs for 450 courts and 6,000 plus teams. Well, this one is one that I don't even think I realized was a bad dream. I couldn't even dream bad enough to understand that I'd be the one to be involved in a year like this where you're having to make really, really difficult decisions. You're having to be innovative and creative at the same time.
Another event getting canceled this evening is the Spike and Dig tournament. It's one of the world's largest 6-on-6 co-ed volleyball tournaments that takes place in Spokane. Unfortunately, that event also not going to happen in 2020. Back to you, Mark.
All right, Brenna Green reporting live downtown. Brenna, thank you very much. Hoopfest has been a Spokane tradition for 31 years running, and it takes a lot of preparation throughout the year. So here are just some of the numbers. The event requires 14 miles of tape from Gonzaga to Green Bluff. Hoopfest takes up 40 city blocks and parking lots closed downtown during the event. Normally, the event uses 422 basketball courts. The tournament uses more than 6,000 basketballs every year. 14,000 games are played over the weekend, about 33 games per court. Well, this is the first time in Hoopfest history that it's going virtual. The event's website is calling the new event Hoopfest Home Court. So if you want to register, here's how to do it. Follow along. First, go to Spokane Hoopfest website. That's where SpokaneHoopfest.net. If you scroll down, you follow along right here. There's a section called Register for the Virtual Event. We'll click on that one right there. Then create your login for the account. You'll scroll down again and hit Continue right there. It'll take you on to the next page. Hit Continue one more time. And then it pops up this screen where you input a bunch of personal information about that. You'll sign a waiver and then review your entire order before submitting it. Really not that difficult to do. It's all pretty simple. To find the link to register for the virtual event, just text the word Hoopfest to 509-448-2000 and we'll send a link directly to you. Whitney?
All right, Mark, in other top stories this evening, we now know the identity of the final victim who was killed in that mid-air collision over Lake Coeur d'Alene last Sunday. To this afternoon, it was the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office that identified that 8th victim as a 57-year-old man from California. Now, we also were looking into some photos that showed what looked like wreckage being stored in a dumpster right there at a boat launch. You could see that some people over the weekend were swimming right by those those dumpsters. So our Taylor Vito reached out to both local and federal authorities, and he has more right now. Okay, well, we don't have that story, but we will get it for you here in just a short time. In the meantime, we also want to go to some other breaking news that is new tonight at 6 that we are hearing now from 2 bystanders who helped some victims from a North Idaho helicopter crash get to safety. Let's see if we can get to that video right now and take a look. That crash happened. It actually happened last month just south of Rathdrum. The helicopter was carrying a 78-year-old Spokane County man along with a 42-year-old flight instructor. Authorities haven't yet said why that crash happened, but 2 local men were driving by on Highway 41 nearby when they saw the helicopter go down. They both got out of their cars, ran to the scene. They tell KREM 2 that the helicopter started to catch fire after it crashed. One of the victims, they say, was on fire and had severe burns. Both victims were in shock following the crash. Those bystanders said they worked to get them both away from the flaming wreckage.
Once got the door open, it was like a scene from a movie, honestly. When they came out, that wave of heat blew Kenzo back more than it blew me back because he was a little bit closer, but I definitely felt it.
Certainly, you know, those people had families. Those people were human beings. You know, we're Americans, and when we're called to do great things, it was one of the scariest things I've ever done in my life. But it was the right thing to do.
Wow, both of those men added that this incident serves as an example of putting our differences aside and looking out for each other no matter what. They also asked for prayers for those families of the victims. As for the men injured in the crash, both were later transported to a Seattle hospital. We now know the 78-year-old victim eventually passed away from his injuries. The 42-year-old flight instructor, in the meantime, does remain in the intensive care unit in Seattle. Mark?
All right, Whitney, thank you very much. To weather now this summer, certainly been cooler than normal so far, but this week the inland northwest will see temperatures into the 80s. Let's get straight to meteorologist Michelle Bosch. She's broadcasting from home. And Michelle, we're not going to hit 90 just yet, it looks like.
Doesn't look like it. In fact, we haven't hit 90 yet. We got close on Saturday. High temperature officially of 89 degrees. And for this upcoming week, might get close again, but not quite sure we're going to make it this week, maybe even not the week after. Let's take a look at the statistics in July so far. 11 out of the last 13 days, of course, that includes today, we've seen below average temperatures. No 90-degree temperatures yet and no 90s in the forecast. So what have we got? We've got 70s and some low 80s today. 74 in Spokane, low 70s across the Idaho Panhandle, and the warmest temperatures across the central part of the state with 80 in Omak, low 80s in Moses Lake and Othello. Even Lewiston coming in under 80 right now, 79 degrees. Of course, winds have been lighter than what we've seen over the weekend, generally under 10 miles per hour. A little bit breezy right now in Coeur d'Alene, 13 miles an hour, but don't expect any gusty winds for this evening. Here's a look at visible satellite, just a few mountain cumulus clouds. Those will be fading this evening. Otherwise, looking at clear skies across the region as we add radar, really nothing to see there. It's going to be dry for the next several days, even all the way till the end of the week. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. Clear skies for tonight. Going to be a little on the cool side. Lows dipping down into the upper 40s, lower 50s, but we should be back in the 80s tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies on Wednesday, 86. And it looks like one of the hottest temperatures of the week, a high of 88 on Thursday.
All right, Michelle, thanks very much. Tonight, Spokane City Council could vote on those so-called mosquito devices. You may have already heard about them. They're kind of a high-pitched device that is meant to prevent loitering from local businesses. And the council has been actually talking about possibly overriding the mayor's recent veto of those noise devices. So here's her story now. But before we get to that, we do want to warn you that the noise itself can be pretty annoying.
Spokane City Council believes the following tones are painful and do not create a welcoming city environment. That's why the City Council passed an ordinance to ban them, but Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward vetoed it. It's not completely dead, though. Tonight, City Council will need 5 votes to override the mayor's veto, meaning the ban could actually go into effect. If the override gets all 5 votes, council members will then vote on a resolution to go along with it. Council President Brian Beggs calls it a sunrise provision for the ban on mosquito devices. If the resolution passes with 4 votes, enforcing the ban will hinge on the opening of the downtown Spokane police precinct.
The ordinance won't be enforced until after that downtown precinct is open and operating, and we literally have officers walking the beat. So the building owners were worried that someone would sleep in their entryway. Well, now once the precinct is open, which is going to open in a couple weeks, there will be officers around the clock patrolling, and if someone's sleeping illegally, trespassing on someone, then they'll remove them. And so the need for that device is just not going to be there anymore.
Beggs says only a handful of businesses even have mosquito devices. He also believes the devices do not work very well because most people who may be sleeping in those areas late at night do not hear the tones.
It's really geared at younger people who probably aren't going to be out that late at night.
Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.